I remember doing a video on Brittany Renner early in my YouTube career, in which I never understood why a lot of these men, especially men of respect, is going to waste their time and give a thought like this attention on the social media waves. I don't get it. Like, it's been very understood that a woman like this is not to be taken seriously, is not to be looked at as one to take advice from, nor even get a perspective about what she's saying. She is a thought. So I find it very funny that we have the new age, what you would call, I believe she's like Karen Steffens 2.0, because we already have an understanding that Karen Steffens made a hell of a career throughout the 2000s as being a video vixen. And then with that, you had a couple of other video vixens that came along, like I believe Kat Stacks. You even had a transsexual woman by the name of something Star that made a lot of headroom and even gave up allegations about having sexual intercourse with someone like Chingy at the time. So, the problem is that it seems as if every time a woman comes around, that seems to be the kryptonite, especially for the beloved so-called black man, in which he loses his inhibitions in his mission, all because a woman comes around. It has no composure and will allow a woman to be rambunctious, especially if she's drunk off of wine and spirits, in which she makes very, very crazy claims or, act up and act like a child. So the reason I'm doing this video is that I'm giving a response to the recent interview that happened on something called the Danza Project, in which I'm debating whether I want to do a separate video analyzing the whole entire thing, in which I pinpoint the reactions from the men, not her, and basically how they reacted based off of what she did. Now, the way that she carried herself in the interview, very horrible. Why would you have a woman who's obviously drunk with a makeup brush, put it on her face, sit up there giving Charleston White a lap dance and, throwing water at these random people, even throwing water at the host of the podcast? And this is the problem. So many of these men think that they're going to have these, like, how do I say it? They think by having a woman who's a provocateur and an agent of chaos naturally, that it's going to get them views, it's going to get them more money and all this other stuff. They've lost their composure. They've lost their respect. That's why a lot of these men that come on here and sit up there and talk about traditional men or this, that, and the third, it's not true, because more than likely you're dealing with a modern man. You live in a modern society. So to sit here and talk about traditionalism is all a farce to me. You understand what I'm saying? Especially when you allow a woman like this on the scene to say the things that she's saying. Now, if it was up to me, in which it's been warned so many times on the podcast, you had a man in the background that was sitting up there saying, yo, y'all need to chill. Y'all need to get this woman off the air. Y'all need to do something with this woman because she's throwing water at me and she's calling me all types of names and sitting up there being very disrespectful. And, the men, the host of the show, which is very disappointing, they sat there and said, oh, we family over here. And my whole entire thing is, fuck a family when you have a drunk woman on the podcast acting up. And Charleston White, who is supposed to be some type of influencer, he did not once correct that woman, especially when she decided to give him a lap dance on a damn podcast. I mean, it's sickening. A lot of these men allow these women airtime, in which, if it was up to me, the solution I would have given when she was on a podcast, if I had a podcast right now, I would have sat up there and said, she is not allowed to be on here. She needs to go. She needs to get herself, she needs to gain some composure, or we'll set up an interview the next time, or we're just going to end the podcast now because she can't maintain herself in having a conversation. And again, this is why I say, I'm not going to try to shame the Danza Project. I looked at a couple of their videos, looked at what they're about. I see a lot of these podcasts springing up these days because I believe, and this is what I assess, that the podcast industry, or the podcast, he sprung up a podcast is the new industry. Everybody was focused on the music industry before, but the music industry is not the music industry like it used to be, obviously. So they transfer that energy from the music industry, even loosely, the acting industry, into the podcast industry or the gaming streaming industry. in which you start to have a lot of these influencers that's born out of it. Even if you look at these panels that you see on YouTube about how a lot of them came from these networks or these different things, these people on YouTube wanted to initiate, that even after that, they start to become their own personality, in which a lot of people want to watch them. And now they start to come up with these frivolous topics about how women are this and women are that, and men are traditional men, and how things have changed, in which we do have an understanding that things are not the same. Women being breadwinners and men not, and men requiring these different things of a woman, and a woman is not willing to conform to it. And like I said, my message from watching that podcast segment, I was definitely disappointed. And I definitely will say is, I don't understand why men still choose to give thoughts or give women who are not of respect, like Brittany Renner, airtime. Knowing the fact of the matter, she's a provocateur, and the fact of the matter, she can be very disrespectful to men on podcasts. But this is the veneration of the whorish woman, the very downtrodden and disrespectful woman in this society, in which they continue to uplift the woman that acts to a serpent attitude. Even if you check the book that Brittany Renner had put online about how she was basically in an arch position, in a succubus position, with an apple on her bum, signifying the apple bottom, in which we still can understand she's letting three things take place in that photo. It could be the art of odontology, which is something I went over a lot of times on this channel. It could be venerating succubus, and obviously a lot of Greek goddesses that basically use their body as a sexual tool to gain attention. And I think the book is called Judge This Cover and stuff like that, in which he's basically saying, yes, I am sexual. I am this. I do use my body. So what? And these different things. But this is why I say to men, you cannot take women like this seriously. And so many men do not learn their lessons, such as PJ Washington and a couple of other fellas, in which this is not a woman you should dare be serious about. If this is the way she acts online, and she's proud to be a whore for the NBA and many different organizations and using men. It's the same thing that these dudes did with Kim Kardashian, and Kanye West didn't learn his lesson until it was too late. I mean, brothers just don't get it. Just stop. You know what I'm saying? Carry yourself in a better way as a man. But obviously, through this commentary, if you like this video, if you want to comment, please make sure you like, share, subscribe. Peace.